I'm joined live now by Ilana Stein, Deputy Spokesperson for Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry. Thank you very much for joining us. So, according to your figures, how many Palestinians have so far been killed in this operation?
We don't have the numbers since the Palestinians are the ones who are giving out the numbers, but I don't think this is just a numbers game. What is happening here is the Palestinians, unfortunately, are also in Gaza, are also victims of this terror organization called the Hamas. They are using these people, they're going into their homes, they're using their homes as military combat unions, and then they fire from these places, they use their missiles there, and that's why these people are in danger. And we differentiate between the civilians and the terror organizations, but unfortunately Hamas thinks that this is okay to use their own people as human shields, unfortunately.
Now, we have some of the figures there that the UN is citing. It's slightly more than 200 at this point. I believe it's 205 or 206 Palestinian deaths. How many Israeli casualties have been racked up so far?
Unfortunately, we have, as you said, a person who died this morning. He died because he wanted to bring food to soldiers. Then he wanted to do a good and kind deed, and unfortunately he died. But as I said, the reason that we are not dead is because we have a government that protects us. We go into shelters. I myself today, this morning, had to go and start my day in the shelter because we had a few attacks on Tel Aviv. So the idea is we have an anti-missile defense system that protects the citizens. And unfortunately, in Gaza, what they have is that Hamas leaders using their own people as human shields in order to launch missiles at us.
Now, not making any qualitative claims here, all deaths, especially civilian deaths, are tragic, of course. But in your case, Israel has the advantage, clearly, of having far more advanced weaponry, including, of course, the Iron Dome system, which has been effective in blocking rockets coming at Israel from Gaza. The Palestinians don't have this technology. Don't you think it would be, and of course, there is disproportionate damage, it seems, done to the population in Gaza by the Israeli technology, the missiles in particular, even though there are steps being taken like the tap on the roof, like the text messages and the phone calls that we understand that are sent out. Wouldn't it be better to focus Israeli defense technology at more defensive measures for things like Iron Dome and other protective measures, as opposed to simply taking retaliatory steps?
The retaliatory steps, as you call them, are not retaliatory. What they're doing is that they're aiming at the launchers, okay? If you need missiles to stop being launched at Israel, you need to stop the launchers. And that's what they're doing. They're taking care of the infrastructure of the terror organization, and what we're trying to do is to destroy that in order to protect our people. Unfortunately, the Hamas doesn't have that care in mind. That's why they don't have shelters. They allocated all, as you said, we need to allocate your funds on defense. We do that. But unfortunately, Hamas doesn't. They don't care about that. They only care about destroying Israel. Just today, the spokesperson of Hamas said that all these stories about having a ceasefire for 10 years, they're just nonsense. They're just stories. He said there will not be a ceasefire and Israel will not be, we will not have peace and quiet. And he said the only reason when they will decide to have a ceasefire is so that they can regroup, get more missiles, get more weapons, so that they can launch more and more attacks on us until there will be no Israelis left here in the region at all. That, unfortunately, is their aim, to destroy us. Our aim is to keep our people safe. Two very different aims, so you're right, it's not proportional. Our aims and goals are very, very different.
But also, unfortunately, in doing so, your efforts have led to the deaths of children as well. Many of them, almost half of them, under 14. Doesn't it concern you, the collateral damage, so to speak?
It concerns us very much, and I have to tell you, there have been many military operations that we decided not to go through because we saw that we might harm children. So this is something that concerns our military leaders every day, every second. They look at every scenario and they try to do the utmost to keep the citizens safe. So in a way, we have the Israeli government trying to keep both citizens safe on both sides. They're trying to protect our children by sending them to the shelters and by having Iron Dome, and they're trying to save the people in Gaza and their children by warning them beforehand so that they might leave their houses and not be in danger. The fact that the Hamas is cynically using them as human shields, that is very tragic. And believe me, the Israeli public also feels very badly about every death. And I hear these conversations
I apologize to jump in, but is there a way that this operation on Israel's side could be done in an even more targeted way? There is 2 million people almost living in the Gaza Strip, a very densely packed area. Is there a way to use different technology or some other way in order to absolutely keep these casualties to a minimum, because there are mostly non-combatants being killed here?
It's sad to talk this way, but this is very minimal. We have, as you said, we're a very strong army. Our army is so strong that, of course, it could do a lot of damage. But what they're trying to do is to do the damage only against terrorist leaders. And every once in a while, other things happen, and they're very, very unfortunate. But if you have so many air attacks and the casualty number is relatively low, it's because of how huge efforts. And I must say that this is something that we're proud of, the fact that we decided that human lives and the civilian lives is something that's so important that sometimes we take risks that might cause us to have problems later. Example, some launchers that we might not decide not to bomb because we don't want to hurt innocent civilians. We might later on have these missiles aimed at me in Tel Aviv, but we decide that this is the moral thing to do, and that's why we do it, and we're very proud of it. The fact that Hamas doesn't have these morals, they're a terror organization. They don't care about morality. They only care about the destruction of Israel.
All right, Ilana Stein, spokesperson for Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry. Appreciate your time.